Okay, so we'll continue talking about the introduction of the visual language models, and this is part 3. So I'm going to talk about image bind, language bind, and LLaVA. Okay, so as we went through in the beginning, I've already talked about Coque, Poly, Flamingo, LLaVA, Painter, and Blip2. So this is now image bind, language bind, LLaVA, and on Wednesday I'll talk about the video ChatGPT. Okay, then that will end the introductory classes. So image bind, this is the paper, came last year in May, and the idea built upon the clip, as we have been talking about. The clip is, one of the main breakthrough in this kind of research, that we have input image and we have corresponding text, and we learn this image representation HI and the text representation HT, such that they are in the same space. So we maximize the embedding of image and the text if they are correct pair, but if they are incorrect pair, then we want to minimize the similarity between these representations, so they will be mapped in the same space. So now that was binding of image and the text. Now this paper talks about that we can bind the image with other modalities. And these are the 6 different modalities: image, text, audio, depth, thermal, and IMU. Okay, so this kind of extend the idea of the clip to many different modalities, and that's pretty interesting. So what they say that only image paired data is sufficient to bind these modalities together. Okay, and so here we have images, we have videos, text, audio, depth, thermal, IMU, and these will be symbols will be used in this paper. And this will be a naturally bind aligned, and this will be emergent aligned, even though we won't have pairs for these ones. But since we map them in the same space, then they will emerge, that they will be able to have map in the same space. So I'll show you an example. So here is the main idea. So we have an image and text, and that's basically a clip. But now we have here thermal image. Okay, so that is kind of already aligned. Their camera will give you both the RGB image and thermal image or infrared image. Then we have the image and video. This is a video. So these are aligned, and the video has audio. So this is naturally aligned. And the egocentric video, like Google Glasses and Meta, Aria, and so on, they have this IMU, or even the iPhone had IMU, which is the accelerometer, gyrometer will give you. So from the video, you can get the audio and also IMU. So also you can get the image and the depth map. There are sensors will give you both. Okay, so they are already aligned. So these dark lines are the naturally aligned, and then these lines, broken lines, will be emergent alignment, because we are aligning these with the image. All of them are aligned image. So therefore, since the text is aligned with the image, so therefore text will be aligned with the also the depth. Since the image is aligned with the thermal, so therefore thermal will align to IMU, and so on. So which is pretty interesting, right? A very interesting idea. So so here we have web, image, text. So we have the image, and we have this caption, which is like a clip. And here we have the depth sensor and the image. So this is an image, and this is a depth, the distance from the sensor to the location, particular location. And this is a video, web videos. We have the video and the audio. Video contains audio. And this is the thermal data. And this is the ecocentric video, the IMU and the video. Okay, so that's the idea. So, so what they did, that they got the video audio pairs from this data set called audio set data set. Then they got image and depth pairs from the Sun RGBD dataset. These are publicly available datasets. And they got image thermal pairs from the LLVIP dataset and the video IMU pairs from the Ego 4D dataset, which is from Facebook or Meta. So what they did, that they took the open clip. Now clip, the OpenAI clip implementation is not public, okay? But people have, implemented, and that's one of this implementation called OpenClip. So these are trained on billions of images, text pairs, and they use the VITH 630 million parameters image encoder and 302 billion parameters text encoder. And so what these guys did, that they now, once it's trained, now they want to test this image bind embedding on the zero shot classification. So you can use the audio classification using this embedding on these different data sets. This is audio classification retrieval, also retrieval classification. These are number of classes, metric, the mean error precision, recall, and number of samples there. So this is about audio. This is about the depth. So they had used two data sets, Sun depth only, and then NYU version 2 depth only. Again, in this, number of classes, accuracy, test samples and so on. And then they use also this one, LLVIP, which is the infrared or thermal. So this is our Eco 4D data set they use for that. So these were not trained on this data set, but they tested in a zero shot fashion, as we were talking about, because these encoders are trained so well on this image bind idea, and they work pretty well. So these are kind of the results you can get. So let's say you have audio, would say it's crackle of fire. Then using this embedding, you can retrieve an image of a fire, or you can retrieve a video of fire. It's pretty interesting. And then this, if you have audio of baby cooing, then you can retrieve those kind of things. And also you can retrieve a depth image, okay? And with also baby cooing, you can retrieve the depth image based on audio as input, even though this was not trained for that. It's very nice. And you can also retrieve a text, okay? So that's the kind of thing, multimodal retrieval using this one setup of image bind. And you can also do some kind of arithmetic. So let's say you take embedding of an image, embedding of the waves audio, and then retrieve these images, which looks the bird with the waves and so on, which is very nice. Okay. Also here you can take the audio of a dog and use that embedding to DALL-E 2 and synthesize an image of a dog. Okay. Take the audio of an engine and give it to DALL-E 2 and synthesize image and so on. So it's very nice, very cool. It's generalized, very simple, very intuitive, right? You guys can come up with like this. So that's what I want you to do. Okay. So that was image bind. Now there's another paper called language bind. Okay. So there we were binding to the image. Here we're going to bind to the language. We're going to extend the clip to all other modalities. Okay, so so as just a reminder, image bind was like this blue. So we are binding everything, the image, the depth, infrared, audio, and any kind of modalities. Now we are going to bind to the language. We'll bind depth to the language, infrared to language, and audio to language, and so on. Okay. So what they did is look at the data set. There wasn't any data set, because if you want to bind to the language, then you have to have a data set, right? In clip, we bind image to the language, but we don't have a data set. The text with video or text with infrared or audio. So they review the different data sets. So HMDB 51 is only video, okay? And UCF 101 is also only video. So by the way, you guys should be proud of being at UCF. The UCF 101 data set is so famous, and we did it, right? So this is standard, and we did 10 years ago. Now everybody's using. And maybe you guys can come up with data set from this class, then become famous, and you can do it. So UCF 101 has 101 classes of YouTube video. So that's standard for the action recognition. Then we have ActivityNet and WebWid. ActivityNet has the video and text, and these data sets have video and text, two modalities, out 100 million and so on. And then we have these data set where we have video and images, like flare images, infrared images. And this NYUD has video and depth, and this has the video, audio, and text, and so on. Now, what they did, they came up with their own data set, which they call VIDAL 10 million, which has 10 million samples, and which has every modalities: video, images, depth, audio, and the language. And this is data set that we use. Okay. So then the idea is very similar to what we have been talking about, that we have the language, we tokenize, and we have text encoder. And then we have these multimodal encoders. We have encoder for video, for infrared, we have depth, audio, and all those things. With the patches, we can encode those. And then we will do some masking of tokens, which means we reduce the tokens because maybe we don't need all of the tokens, reduce number of tokens, and it works pretty well. And then we'll take the already trained encoders, video encoder, infrared encoder, and so on, and we'll fine tune them. And we are going to use what is called low rank adaptation fine tuning. I'm going to explain how we do that. After that, then we'll do the contrasted learning. So we'll contrast language with video. Another thing we'll do, contrast language with infrared, language with depth, language audio, and so on. And that's it. That's the way we're going to train. Yes.
They have 5 contrastive processes.
Hmm?
They have 5 contrastive processes.
5 what?
Contrastive processes.
Yeah. So just add up all those together.
It's a simple sum.
Yeah. Yeah.
So quick question from the virtual class. So both the image bind and the language bind, it seems like they convert the other modalities to some sort of image space, right? So the audio, they're using a spectrogram, and then the IMU. Okay. So they're both converting it into some raster image space and then utilizing the VIT architecture.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Because see, like audio is one-dimensional signal, right? So what you do, you take a clip and find what is called the spectrum, frequency spectrum. You apply Fourier transform analysis, it will convert into the image, power spectrum, and then, which is actually shown here, and then it's an image, you get patches and so on.
Yep.
So like that, they also do for all modalities. Yeah.
What exactly is frozen?
Yeah, frozen, as we talked about the previous lecture.
No, I know what it means. It just means like it has its own from that block. I don't know if it's trainable. Because video encoders is blocked. next to it. So, right.
Yeah, so frozen locking,
It's a
oh, this
LLaVA.
one, yeah, I don't know what does it mean. Yeah, okay, so that's a simple part, LoRa fine tuning, I'll explain that. Because some part of the weights will be frozen, other parts will be updated. So that's good point. Yeah, so typically it is frozen or the trainable, but here they are doing both because some parts of the weights will be frozen, we won't touch, and some other parts will train. Okay, good. So there's another question here. Any
Dr.
other question? Yeah.
Is it a separate encoder for each modality, and is the patch embedding, is that a single patch embedding module, or can you please elaborate on the stream for each modality?
Yeah, there is separate encoder for each, as it's showing. There's a video encoder, there's infrared encoder, and so on. Yeah. Okay. But all these are transformer, it's very similar to VIT because at the end it's like patches and so on, as shown here. Okay, so it actually is here. So we have 24 layer, 1024 dimensional VIT with a page size of 14, and they will take the open clip large, initialize with that, and they will do low rank adaptation. Okay, so let's now talk about low rank adaptation. So as we know that most of these models are very large, require a lot of data set, a lot of time to train it. So we take the pre-trained model and we fine tune it with some custom data set. So by the way, these slides are from this nice YouTube channel, and these are very nice short presentation, 5-6 minutes. I'd suggest you should actually subscribe that channel. I actually like it. So now the custom data set, with the large language models like GPT, LLaMA, Vicuna, these are very huge model. So we can't, if you just fine tune that, it will require a lot of time, lot of computing power and so on. So as you know, that there are these huge number of a large language model. This is from a survey on a large language model from Microsoft. This tells you the whole, started 2019, this is 2023, we are already 2024, and there are so many of these large language models. And the one which are shown in yellow are open source, which is good that you can use them and change them and so on. So now what is happening that over the years, that these sizes of these large language models keep increasing, right? So this y-axis is the size billions of parameters, and it's becoming, lots of parameters. So now fine tuning these totally is very, very difficult. So that's where the low rank adaptation comes in. So now if you look at any neural network, basically you can represent the weight matrix. There are weights. When you do fine tune, basically you update the weights, right? So you learn the weights. You initialize the weights, randomly, but you learn minimizing the loss function. So this is a matrix. Now you can take a matrix and you can decompose in two matrices. Okay. And this is example 3x3. You can decompose these two matrices and you multiply these, you will get a matrix on the left. Okay. Now, one thing here is that in this decomposition, we have only 6 parameters, but in matrix, actually, we have 9. So that's kind of reduction of this. So what we do, we take the initial parameters, and when fine tune, we update those parameters. We make the delta change in each of the parameter, which is delta W. Okay. So the idea is that if you can do the low rank decomposition of this matrix, the update matrix, in two matrices, then what we are going to do is the W0 will be frozen and delta W will be broken in these two low rank matrices. We'll update those. And that'll be much faster as compared to updating the whole thing. And that's the main idea of low rank adaptation. Okay, so let's look at a little bit more. So we have W0, which is D by K matrix, and we break it into two parts, W0 and BA, and then we basically, the way we do this low rank decomposition, that we have B matrix, which is the dimension D by R, and A is R by K. So R is a small number, and actually there's a whole paper on LoRa where R can be 1 or 2, and that's a big reduction. But there are a lot of the redundancy in these weight matrices of these neural networks. Okay, so they apply that, and at the end, they come up with very good results for this paper, language bind. And as you see here, language bind is the blue, and they compare with OpenClip, and they compare with the intern video, which is this one, and then they compare with the image bind. So it's actually doing better than image bind. And the reason, of course, is that they have the specialized data set, right? In the image bind, they did not use any other data set, it was just natural. So that is their advantage. And they can do video, infrared, depth, and also audio. Okay, so that finishes the image bind and the language bind. So we're going to talk about this paper. Yes.
So a couple of slides ago, you said something like LLaVA.
Yeah.
The ways. So how do you find that LLaVA from?
Del W is an update. When you start with the pre-trained model, so you update, fine-tuning means you update the weights. Okay, so that's what the update weights are. So therefore, you want to come up with this decomposition so that these updates will be very, very quick. Otherwise, there'll be lots of these parameters, because delta W is the same size as a W0. So that's the advantage. Okay, so so this is the paper, which is pretty famous paper. Its title is Visual Instruction Tuning, and this is kind of one of the first paper which does the conversation. Is a conversational image text conversation model, and it's called Large Language and Vision Assistant. That's what LLaVA stands for. And the first successful image text conversation model. And it applies this instruction tuning. Okay, so in order to make like ChatGPT or any other visual language model where you can ask questions, answer, and conversation, then you have to take the large language model and you have to do instruction tuning. So that's a different between GPT and ChatGPT. ChatGPT everybody can use because it's useful. You can do the conversation. GPT is just, it will just generate a next word, right? So in order to be able to do that, so you have to do what is called instruction tuning. So you have to have instruction, you have to have a question, you have to have answer. Using that, you have to train this these models. Then you can use it for during testing for the conversation. So that's the idea. And this LLaVA was one of the first one to do for visual language. Okay, so in this thing, the main thing is that you have to come up with a data set again, because everything in deep learning is a data set, depends on lot. So what they did, that they take the image text pairs and they converted them instruction data, and they achieve about 92% accuracy on a science question answering, and science question answer, one of the benchmark which has about 20,000 multiple choice questions across 3 subjects and 26 topics and 127 categories and 379 skills. So that's the main thing that public is so impressed that this computer system can ask these questions. These GPTs can actually pass a bar exam and on the law exams and so on medical exam. So that's the appealing thing. Now those are mostly language based, but now we are extending to the multimodal, where first modality is image. Then you can do video, you can do audio, speech, and all these things. So that's where the focus we have here, that what we can do beyond large language models. Okay, so now look at the LLaVA architecture. It's very simple. So we have an image XV, and we use it to the vision encoder, which will get us embedding. And then we have the projection matrix W. Okay. So what the idea is that we will take an image XV, do the embedding, encoder G, we get a ZV, and that ZV will multiply with the projection matrix, we'll get HV, which will go further. And on the side also, we have language instruction, which we call HQ, like question. And then we have a language model, F5. So we'll take the tokens from the image, token from the language, go to the language model, and it will respond, which will be your answer. So that is your LLaVA architecture, pretty simple and intuitive. So now the way they train this is 2 stages. First is pre-training for feature alignment. So we want to take the image features, our image tokens, and we want to align with the language tokens. So that's where the pre-training for feature alignment. So what they did, they take the CC3M data set, which is image text pair, and they filter them to 595,000. And then they kept the visual encoder and the large language model frozen, and they just train the projection layer, this one, W. Okay, so which we find out to determine these parameters theta for W. This is stage 1. And stage 2, we want to now fine tune end to end. Okay, so fine tune now W and this parameter phi for the large language model. So that's the way to train this thing. So now instruction tuning is very important, and that is being used a lot in these conversational models. So the way it works, that we have the system message, and then human will give the instruction and assistant will give you answer. So this is one turn, then human will instruct our question, then assistant will give answer, and so on. We'll keep going like that. So this is the message from the system. We'll say a chat between a curious human and artificial intelligence. Assistant gives helpful, detailed, and polite answers to the human question and stuff. So now we are given an image XV. For each image, we will have this question answering pairs. First question, first answer, and so on to T. And so the T instruct will be that first time we will, there's a first term. These are a term, T is equal to term. So we will randomly choose, the image and the question and image, or image and question, give it to the system. And after the first turn, then we will just keep asking questions because it already has an image. Okay, so these are the questions. So then the idea is that we want to, given the instruction, given the image, we want to find the answer. Okay, so that's your objective function. So we will generate one token at a time. So these are the tokens of length L. So given the image and instruction less than up to, less than I and answers, which is given up to that point, we want to generate a next token and we'll keep doing that. And that will be your answer. So that's the way it works. So what they did, they used Coco image to generate 3 types of instruction following data: conversation, detailed description, and complex reasoning. And so they took the captions and boxes and give it to GPT to generate a question answer pair. So that's where you can use this GPT actually to help you to generate, to make another GPT. So there were 158,000 unique language and image instruction following samples, and 58,000 were conversation, 23K detailed description, 77K in complex reasoning. Okay, so here's an example. So this is an image and this is a caption for this image, and they got from Coco data set. So also they applied this object detection on this image, and they got these bounding boxes. What are the objects? What are the bounding boxes? So they can give this. These are the contexts, right? You give a context of caption, you give a context of boxes, and then you prompt. You give it to not to the image, but you give it to this to the GPT. And I think they use 3.5 Ultra or something, and then so no visual images used to prompt GPT and ask them to come up with question answer pairs. So it came up with these kind of thing. A conversation, what type of vehicle is featured in image? Answer is this one. Where is the vehicle parked? The vehicle is parked in an underground parking area, and also what are the people in the image doing, and so on. So that's a good, GPT can do that, right? ChatGPT. So it's based on just only caption and bounding boxes, not image. And these are detailed description. It can generate, from this. Then this is a complex reasoning. What challenges do these people face, and can talk about SUVs and all there are multiple suitcases and all this thing. Okay, so so they came up with different ways of generating this instruction. That you can say describe the image concisely, provide a brief description of a given image, offer succinct explanation of picture presented, summarize the visual content of image, given a short and clear explanation of subsequent image, and all those things. So these are typical instructions which they got from GPT. Okay, and these are for the detailed image description. Describe the following image in detail, or a detailed description of the given image, given an elaborate explanation of the image. You see, offer a thorough analysis of image and so on. But the GPT is very powerful with the language, right? So that you can get a help from it to come up with these kind of instructions. So then they use this also in context prompt that you give some few shots, and there, this is the prompt you give it to your GPT. You say you are an AI visual assistant. You are seeing a single image. What you see are provided the 5 sentences describing the same image you are looking at. Answer all questions you are seeing in the image. Design a conversation between you and person asking about this photo. The answer should be the tone that a visual assistant is seeing. And all these, it's pretty interesting, right? So they give all these to the large language model. And then it goes through these few short examples. So there, the user gives some context, a sample, and then the assistant, which is a LLaVA, will give a response based on that, and you keep going like that. So now this is one example. Given the captions like this, then they will do the conversation like that. What color is the fire hydrant in the image? The fire hydrant in the image is red. Is the fire hydrant fully covered by snow or partially visible? Fire hydrant partially visible with significant portion of covered by the deep snow. What's the condition of sidewalk? And those kind of things. So that is based on this. So so here are the actual examples from the testing of this LLaVA. So this is an image taken, and the question asking, user is asking, what is unusual about this image? Then the system is answering the unusual aspect of this image is men iron clothes on the back of a minivan or a van. This is not a typical place from this activity, as one would usually iron clothes in a more stationary and safe location, such as home, using regular ironing board. The scene depicted in the image is peculiar. It involves a makeshift ironing setup on a vehicle, which can both be unsafe and conventional. Additionally, it's not clear how the man is able to maintain balance and stability while ironing clothes in such an unstable environment. So that's amazing, right? So based on the image, and this, the system is able to tell you all that thing, which we never thought, 3 years ago that you can do that. So which is the revolution. Similarly, then say start a new conversation and clear the history. Then asking another question, what's happening in the scene, and let's keep talking about that. Here's another example. So there's meme, so which means there's image and there's description. So can you explain this meme in detail? It's creative, humorous take on food with a focus on chicken nuggets, center of universe. The meme begins with the sometime I just look at picture of Earth from space. I marvel at how beautiful it is. The main image features a tray of cooked chicken nuggets with the chicken pieces positioned to resemble the continents, islands, and world map, and just keep going like that. So here's another example. So you give an image. This is a movie. Does anybody know which movie is this? Okay, so what is the ending of this movie? And then the image, a young woman is learning, leading on a man in front of beautiful sunset with both of them standing on a boat. They appear to be enjoying romantic moment together. So it's very nice, very interesting. Of course, I mean, it's not perfect. You'll find a lot of problems, but this is a beginning of these kind of things you can do. Okay, so I think that's the end for today's lecture. And so